and then we can continue from there. Can you see my screen, you all? All right, great. So yesterday we talked about so many things. Someone should help us with what he or she remembers. If you don't talk, I'll call. I'll call you myself. Hello? Joshua Okru, were you part of yesterday's meeting? Joshua, were you part?
Sure, that was part.
Yeah, so let's hear from you. What do you remember from yesterday's lesson?
So yesterday we learned about user input.
User input.
Sure, sir.
Okay, what again? That's good.
And then we learned how to allow users to enter a number that's using the C in.
Okay, we now we touched on how to get input from the user by using the C in functionality, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So
All right.
that's that.
All right. That's great. But okay, you've said a lot and that's fine. Emmanuel, no, Samuel Ajono. Is it Ajono or Ajono? Samuel Ajono. What do you remember from yesterday's meeting?
Sir, please, I wasn't here yesterday.
You are not part of. Is this your first time anyway?
No, this is not my first time.
Okay, so you've been coming, you've been joining.
Yes, sir.
So you missed on yesterday's lesson. The video is online. You can go and visit it, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, thank
So
you.
someone is saying that we also learned about how to develop simple calculator. We saw how to build a simple calculator. All right. Then someone is saying that we said C in means consoling. Okay, consoling. That is also true. So it is okay that we remember at least some information from what we talked about yesterday, so we can continue to explore other concepts. So I'm going to get rid of whatever I have here so we can make room for today's stuffs. Okay. We also learned about scientific numbers. Okay, I touched a bit on that. Yes, that is true. That is true. That is true. Now, I would want to talk about the character data type. Yesterday we saw the Boolean data type, right? Okay. So I'll use this one to use a monitoring character data type. Now, when we say character, it means a single letter, right? It's not necessarily a letter, but any character at all. So it could be an asterisk. It could be a letter itself. Let's say maybe A, B, or something. So those single letters, we call them characters in programming. So what are their essence? So let's say that when we want to store a single character in, this is used to store single character. Now there are some few rules that you need to pay attention to when you're using what the character data type. You remember that when we say maybe string and we say username. This one we use what? Let's say username. Let me use Richie, and then we terminate it like so. You realize that this one we are using was double quotes. We're using double quotes to surround the word Richie, right? Or the string Richie. But in the case of character, we don't use double quote, we use single quote. We use what? Single quote. So in cases where maybe we want to store the grade of a student, maybe a B or C or D, that means you would have to use what? A character data type. But if you are thinking about using, let's say, C plus, D plus, or maybe B plus, you realize that it is no longer what? A single character. It is double what? Characters. So we have the B and then we have the plus. So it defeats the purpose of what? Single character. So you can't use single characters or the character data type for such cases. But if I have something like so, car, and I say students grade, and I do single quotes and I say B like so, this is valid. Does it make sense? Okay, but then I can't do this. I can't do this. The program will give an error. Do you understand the differences? Okay, so that is that. Characters are used to store single character data type are used to store what? Single characters. So we've seen um, some examples like that. Some examples like that. Now let me do something interesting here. Let's just go ahead and say C out. Then I'll say student grade. So what I'll do is I want to grade. Then I'll do this, and this should be okay. So I'll compile and run this. You realize that we are getting what? B, right? So that is the character data type for you. A moment. Yeah, I go. Hello? 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 Please speak a bit louder. Yeah, evening. What's up? What's it? So I've done something on the screen. I've written some few lines of code. I'm going to execute it so that we see what the output would be. This is what we are getting. Any idea why we are getting this output? Any idea? Any idea? Any idea? Faculty of Science or a lecturer or I say physics. I'm a no physics person. That's what they are saying. It does not. I'm a That's not him. You let me finish. You wanted to see the lines of code, right? This is it. Any idea why we are getting such result? Because the data types of the values are int rather. I think it's because of the quotes. Okay. I think it's because of the quotes. Okay. Any other? Alright, so let me make it snappy. You know ASCII values, right? Computer systems and application. You remember ASCII values? You remember ASCII values? Yes. So in character the ASCII value A is what? A, which is 70. We are storing what? 70 in A. So when we printed out A, we are getting F. So it means that the ASCII value 70 is F. Does it make sense? Yes. And the same way 67 is what? C. And then within the ASCII value system 50 is 2. Alright, so that is basically that. So we were able to do that with the help of the character. Okay. So in essence what is happening is when you use the character data type and then you assign a number instead of, let's say, something like so, right, you are going to get the ASCII value. Do you get it? Yes. So if you decide not to use the single quote and assigned a letter or a character to it and you use numbers instead like so, this is working, but this is going to give you the ASCII value instead. So that is that. All right. So if that is well understood, let me continue. The next thing we are looking at is let's look at strings. Strings. Already we've dealt with strings already. We said that when you want to define a string, you begin with a string data type like so. Then you say maybe greet or greeting. Then you say hello, maybe like so. Now with this, you understand that this is what the data type, this is your variable, and this is the value that you've assigned to this variable. Now why is it called a string? One, because of this data type, and then because this thing here is placed in double quote, it is treated as what? A string. Does it make sense? So if I want to print out whatever that is held in the greeting variable, I'll just say see out greeting. Then I would what? Terminate the code, compile and run. Okay. I think it is doing that. It's just taking a bit of time. What the hell is happening?
My number.
You realize that we are getting what? Hello, right? Now look at something. When I have a number, say int, I'll say string, say first
Boy, what number?
number, okay? Then I'll say this one is equal to 2. Is this a valid implementation? Is it valid? Okay, so it's not valid, right?
Me too.
So what do you think is the right approach?
89. No one number current.
What is the right approach? Changing the string to int. Okay, we will try that. Any other? All right, let's continue. So, oh, okay. Someone is also saying that put two in quotes exactly, and then all we should two and not two. Okay. All right, that is fine. So, this is what we want to display. We don't want to display the word like so. We want to display two like so. But because we want to display this as a string, you would have to put this one in double quotes like so. And when you print out this, or when you check the data type of this one, you are going to what, get a string as the output. So this is no longer treated as a number. It is no longer treated as a number. Does it make sense? Okay, so that is that. Now there is one important concept that I need to also touch on. We have something we call the auto keyword. So what this auto does is that it is going to infer the type of data based on the value that you assign to it, right? So you can do something like so auto, then you say name, then you do this. Let's say Peter. What's the name? Is it Peter? Peter Amwa. Yeah, Peter Amwa Ichia. So Peter Amwa Ichia. So when you do this, the system is able to infer that this is what going to be a string variable. Does it make sense? Great. So when I go ahead and say cout and I say name, so because there isn't anything, let me just do it like so. Run it. I'm only hoping that it compiles. So it is holding in memory the old output. So let me just compile this. Compile and run this thing. Can you see it was able to print it out? Can you see that? Alright, so what happens is if I do another auto and I'll say age, right? And then I say 34, automatically C++ will be able to infer that okay, this data here is what, an integer data, and then it will behind the scene convert this to what, an integer data type or integer variable. Does it make sense? So that is what the auto does. That is what it does. Okay, quickly let's move to what we call operators. Let's look at operators. So let me just copy these codes and then I'll drop them hopefully in the WhatsApp page so that you can have access to it, but for now I don't need them. Any question up to this point? Are there any questions so far? Can we always use auto? You can do that, but it's not a best practice. If you know the data that is coming, please just use the correct data type. Okay. If you know the data that is coming is supposed to be an integer, just spell out the integer clearly in your code. Okay. Sometimes you don't know, you want to just allow the user to input anything at all, so that way you can use the auto. So if someone is asking an interesting question, does it work for booleans? Let's try it out. So I'll just do auto. Now I'll say it's active, right? Then I'll say true. So now go ahead, see out, it's active. Then I'll terminate this, and then let's compile and run it. Does that answer your question? Yes. So you can use auto for literally all the data types. But then, like I said, for a good practice or course, when you know the data that you are expecting from the user, then use the correct data type for that. Does it make sense? Alright, great. So let's continue. We want to look at operators, a very crucial concept in computer programming. So what are they? So operators are used to perform operations on variables and values. So operators are used to perform what? Operations on variables and values. So we can talk about the addition operator, we can talk about the subtraction operator, we can also talk about the multiplication, the division, the modulo. What have I not touched on? Is that all? Okay, so if that's all, that is okay. Let's continue. For now, these are the ones we can remember. So we are saying that these operators here, they help you to perform operations on variables and value. So you can have, let's say, two variables which are having certain values in them. Then you can say, okay, you want to multiply those two variables to get a result, right? That is what this statement here means. So let's go ahead and say we have a variable called what? Int. Then I'll say maybe x. And I'll say maybe this is what? 70 plus 10. And then I'll terminate this. So when I go ahead and say see out value of x, then I'll say what? X. I hope it is pretty straightforward. What I'm doing is understandable, right? Okay, so when I'm through with this, I'll just go ahead and compile and run this, and let's see what we get as the output. So we are getting what? An 80. Okay, now it means basically we have used this operator here to perform operation on these values. So these are what? Values, right? So we've used this operator here to perform operations on these two what? Value. You can go ahead and do for what? The minus sign. So let me retain the first one, duplicate this couple of times, change this one to x add, no, x sub, so x add, x divide, or quotient. Can talk about x what? X mod. So I'll change this one to minus /, then we have the modulo, which is the percentage symbol, and the last one x what? X product. I hope you understand, like, what is going on. You understand, right? You all understand. Okay, Shadrach, let's hear from you. What question do you have? Sir, please, is it necessary to bring the art? Is it necessary? Where is our concern? Okay, is it necessary to bring the art sub to the x before using the function between the numbers? It's not necessary, but I'm just trying to be more descriptive. I told you certain things that you have to bear in mind when you are defining or declaring variables, right? I told you. So supposing I did x, y, z, h, it doesn't really make sense. So I'm saying x what? Addition. So x what? Subtraction. So this is just a variable saying, okay, we are doing subtraction here. Another variable say we are doing division here. Another say we are finding modulo, which is what? The modulo is used to find what? Any idea? The modulo is used to find what? Remainder. Good. Remainder. Good. 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 And then we have expro. So product. Product. So that's basically what I was trying to do. I could have said maybe A, B, C, D, which might not make a bit of, like, let's say, so much sense or meaning. That's why I decided to add these ones to the x variable. Well, are you okay now? Yes. Okay. So when I go ahead and say x add, so I'll duplicate this to 1, 2, 3, 4. So x app, x div, x mode, and then x pro. Likewise, I'll do same things here. X pro. This thing, does it not support multi-cursor? Okay, I have that already. So I'll go ahead and print this, compile and run it. Compile and run. So every now and then I've been doing compile and run. I hope by now you are okay with what that means, because sometimes when you go to use the run only, you might not get the latest changes that you've done. So you have to recompile all the entire code to get the latest changes what also compiled. Okay. Is it making sense here? Is the output making sense? So for the modulo we are getting 0. It means that 10 will go into 70 7 times. Remember what? 0, and that is why we are getting 0. Okay, so that's yes, Samuel Suman 0. Yes, that is correct. That is correct. So let's continue. So these are what operators. They are very, very essential. You need to understand them. You need to really understand them. Okay. Now I would want to touch on two other operators which are very, very important. So let me comment out these things. When I drop the code, the commented codes in a group, you should be able to infer which ones are comment and which ones are not comment, because I've taught you the differences. So I want to talk about what we call the increment operators, increment and decrement operators. Then mind you that the ones that I've touched on here are actually what we call arithmetic operators. Now the increment and decrement operators is actually part of what the arithmetic operators. So the plus, minus, division, modulo, multiplication, the increment and decrement which operator, which is this one here. So increment and then decrement. This is what these are all part of arithmetic operators. They are used for mathematical computations. Alright. So with the increment and decrement, what basically happens is if I have a variable, let's say x, and then this is holding a value of 11, when I go ahead and say x plus plus, right, I'll terminate this, then I'll go ahead and say see out what x, or before that I'll say value of x, then I do this and I'll say x. Look at what happens. What do you think will be the output? Which is saying 12. Samuel is saying 22. Any other? Mante is saying 33. Okay, any other? Okay, so let's 13. Okay, great. 12. Okay, let's run it, compile and run, so we see the output. Yeah, so it is what, 12. So what happens is this is an increment operator. It increased the value by 1. It is used to increase the value by what? 1. Does it make sense? Okay. Now we also have the decrement. So now with the increment, you can even do this. You can do what we call prefix. So you do plus plus x, and this will work. Rich, you are shaking your head. Is it scary? It's not scary, okay? So you can do plus plus x and it will do the same thing, but there's a difference. I'm not going to tell you, go and find out. Plus plus x and then x plus plus, they will give you the same output, but there's a thin line between the two of them. You like the first one? Oh, okay. Alright. So that is that. Let's look at the decrement, where we have, let's say, int y equals to 6, or let's say 60. Then I'll say y minus minus. Y minus minus. What do you think will be the output? It's 59. Okay. 59. Joshua is saying 59. Samuel is also saying 59. Okay, so let's test it. Compile and run. Yeah, so we are all right. So we had 59 to be the output. So if plus plus is for increment by 1, that means minus minus is used to decrement by 1. Is it pretty straightforward? Okay, good. So like I said, all these ones are part of what we call arithmetic operators. Arithmetic operators. So that is that. Now let's look at the next concept, assignment. Assignment operators, which is basically we can talk about the major one, which is this. You can have plus equals, you can have minus equal, you can have forward slash, which is the division equals. You can also have multiplication equals. What again? We can also have the modulo equal. Any confusion? Joshua, I want to ask a question. Let's hear from you.
So for the increment and the decrement operators,
Mm-hmm.
so can you give maybe for an increment of 5 or an increment for any number, or it's just increment by 1 and then decrement by 1, just like that?
Okay. So if you do minus minus, which is the decrement, it is going to decrease by 1. Always it is going to be 1. Does it make sense? And if you do plus plus, it will always add 1 to the original value. That is how it is in all programming language. Minus minus plus plus, they add 1 or deduct 1 from the original value. But if you want to increment by your own value, there is a way we go about it. Is that okay? And we are going to use one of these assignment operators to actually demonstrate that. So let's continue. Now I said something about assignment operator. Who remembers? Who can give us an insight into that? Maybe you. Who can give us an insight into that? Should I explain? Alright. Okay, so they are used to assign values to a variable. That is correct. Add them, John. We use them to assign, according to Josephine. Josephine is also saying that we use them to assign a value to variables. That is also correct. Thank you for that. So we use what? Assignment operators to assign values to what? Variables. We've been seeing that so many times. So when I have a variable, say int z, then I do equal. So this equal sign here is the assignment operator. Do you get it? Yeah, this equal sign here is the assignment operator. So it means that since I've introduced this, I'm going to assign, let's say, 50 to this variable z, and that is why we call it the assignment operator. Okay, now since you are familiar with this, I wouldn't touch on that so much. If I want to add, let's say, 5 to 50 without changing the original value, I can do something like so. I can do plus equals z, right, plus equals 5. So this goes to satisfy the question that a colleague or one of us asked, that can we increment by a different number? This is how to go about it. This is how to go about it. So when I go ahead and print C out Z, we are going to get what? What is output? 55, exactly. We are getting 55. So this is the 55 that we are getting as an output. Yes. Now, this expression here, okay, or this statement here, this is the long form of it. This is what basically is happening. So we are saying that, okay, we have a variable z, and then it is holding a value 50, but we want to add 5 to that value without changing the initial value that we assign to the variable. So we are using this advanced assignment operator, which is a plus equal, to assign what, or let's say to add 5 to what, the original value. So when you want to expand this, it is going to be like z equals z plus 5. So this is what the long form of this particular one. Does it make sense? Yes. So that is that. So if you want to stick with this, fine. If you want to go this way too, fine. Me, I see this one to be much shorter, but if you want to expand it, that is what is happening. That is what is happening. So know the difference. Are we okay? So it is the same for all the other operators. So when you do minus here, it is going to subtract what? 5. When you do forward slash, which is the division, it is going to pick what? This value here, which is the z, and then divide it by what? 5. Is that okay? Yes. And then it goes like that for the rest. It goes like that for the rest. Okay, so that is dirt. That is dirt. That is dirt. Now let me ask this tricky question. You see, this is what I've done so far. I've done this one here. I've also done this. What do you think will be the output? What do you think will be the output? Richie is saying 60. Any other? 60. 60. Mante is saying 60. Peter is also saying 55. Okay. For us to be very sure, okay, Adam is saying 55. Emmanuel is also saying what? 60. For us to be very, very sure, let's compile and run. And then whatever you get as your output, that should now be your what? Your understanding, if you didn't get it right. But I believe it's going to be 60 anyways. Does it make sense? Okay, Peter Moore, you are saying you didn't get it. Okay. Why? What? Why is it that you don't understand? Why don't you understand?
Sorry. But I was thinking that since we equal the first one, z plus, then with that, since we didn't ask for the output, the system was supposed to overlook that and then print the other one.
Okay, okay. So let me explain.
Uh,
We have a variable declared z here and then a value 50. Now we are saying that we are using this advanced assignment operator, which is plus equal to as to add 5 to the original value. So we are getting 55. So this is what? Two separate instructions. These are two separate instructions. Then on line 49 too, we've decided to what? Add another instruction. In as much as we are not um, doing this here, we just decided to expand on how do you call it, what the meaning of this thing here is. So it will execute this one, alright, and then since this thing is doing the same thing as the top one, it means it's going to do it and then it's going to do it again. So technically to add 5, okay, then to add another 5 again. So 55 and then 60. Okay. So I'm glad you understand it now. I'm glad you understand it now. All right. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? Because we are going to wrap up soon. Any questions so far? Okay, there are no questions. So let's continue. Let's continue. There are other operators that we can talk about. So many of them. So many of them. But then we don't have so much time. But the most frequently used ones, I've touched on them. So I've highlighted this is the main assignment operator. Then we have the addition assignment operator. Then we have the what? Oh, this is supposed to be this. We have the subtraction assignment operator. We have the division assignment operator. We have the multiplication assignment operator, and then we have the modulo assignment operator. All these ones are there for you to what? Work with. Are we okay? Okay. So that is that. Now let's look at something very interesting. We are going to do what we call comparison operators. So when we say comparison, what does it mean? To compare, right? We don't have much time, so I just want us to speed up a bit. So comparison means to compare something. So in computer programming, that is one thing you'll be doing so much. You'll be comparing a lot of things and you'll be making decisions based on the outcome and whatnot. So let's say we have a variable, say x, then we have a value assigned to it, let's say 10. Then we have another variable, say y, then its value is what? 7. Now we can say cout, and then we can say that we open brackets like so, and we can say x greater than y, and then we terminate this. What do you think will be the output of this code? Okay, we'll find out soon. Any other? 1. Emmanuel Mishiwo. Please, if I'm not able to pronounce the other name very well, forgive me, eh? Yes, or 1. Okay, that is you Samuel, you're laughing. Yes or 1. Okay, we are getting a yes or 1. Okay, Josephine is saying okay. So let me run it, and I'm siding with the one who said we are going to get what? 1. Okay. If we get 1 as the output, then I'll ask a further question, that then what does this particular expression in the cout part where we have x greater than what? Y, what does it mean? What is it returning? So we are getting what? 1, right? Exactly. So my follow-up question is, what is the meaning of this thing here? True. It's returning true, right? So it means we compared 10 to 7 and 10 is greater. And so if 10 is greater, it means it is true, right? So the statement is true. Good. It means the statement is true. So I like all of you, your answers. That is great. 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 So this comparison operators here, when you compare something, it's either going to return a true or false. So you compare. Okay, is 10 greater than 7? Yes, it is true that 10 is greater than 7. So that is a true statement. It's going to return true. So from this expression here, we are going to get what? True as the output, which is 1 technically. So this greater than here is a comparison operator. It's what? A comparison operator. So there are a couple of them. So we have the greater than. We can also talk about the less than. We can also talk about the end. We can also talk about or. So the or, we use double pipelines, okay, to represent the or. Then we can also talk about equal, right? So this is if you want to check if something is equal to something, this is what you do. When you use only one, it means assignment operator. You remember that? Yes, great. Then comma. We also have does not equal. We also have greater or equal. We can also talk about less or equal. So these are few ones that I want to touch on. Okay, these are few ones that I want to touch on. So let's explore them. So someone is asking, how is this different from Boolean? It is not different. They are technically the same. So this is going to return a Boolean statement. This expression here would return a Boolean statement. That is why we are saying comparison operator. When you compare something, you are either getting a true result or a false result. Make sense? Okay, so let me test few of these ones. Let me test few of these ones, and then we can see something. So if I do equal like so, is x equals to y, what are we going to get? Zero. We are going to get 0 as the output. Let's confirm. Okay, I always believe in output. So indeed, my students are saying we are going to get 0, and that is exactly what we have on the screen. That is exactly what we have on the screen here, this one. So we are all right. We are all right. So because this is not true, it is going to return what? 0. X is never equal to y. 10 is never equal to what? 7. But when we change this to 10, it means that it is going to return true, which is 1. Okay, then the next one is let me do x does not equal y. What do you think will be the output? 1. Great. So I like. Hey, someone is saying 0. Why? Please, it means you don't understand. It's supposed to be 1. Okay, it means that x does not equal y, and that is true. Indeed, 10 is not equal to y. X is not equal to y. 10 is not equal to what? 7. That is what this statement means. Do you understand? Yeah. It's not equal. Exactly. So that is that about the comparison operator. So you can implement all this. But then let me touch on the meaning of all the and, the greater than and the less than. You know what that means already. I've touched on what's the equal and then the does not equal. So greater or equal. So when I do this here, greater or equal, the output will be what? One, exactly. So if you get one, it means that is true. So when this thing here means or, so greater or equal y. So if x is greater or equals to y, so it is going to return true, because listen, we have two conditions. Is it greater than y? Is x greater than y, or is equal to? So it is meeting the first one. Is it is greater than what? Y. So it will return what? True. It will return true. Then you can do same for what? The less or equal. The less or equal. Now the one that I want to touch on here is the end. So with end, you can do something like so. So I will do something simple like so. I'll say see out. Okay, unless I use ternary operator. Okay, let me just go that way. So see out. Then I'll do this. I'll say x greater than y and has passed. What do you think will be the output? What do you think will be the output? 1. Okay. Let's try it. Let's compile and run. Yes. So all those who actually submitted 1 as your answer, it is correct. So that is how the AND operator works. Okay, so this first part is x greater than y, is 10 greater than 7. That is true, right? So 1, right? Good. Has passed. We are saying that whenever you assign, you use a boolean data type and then the value is true, it is going to return what? It is going to return what? 1, exactly. So it is going to return 1. So here, this here is going to return 1, and here too is going to return 1. So it is doing something like so. 1 and 1. And 1 and 1 is actually what? These are conditions. So it will not print the 1 and 1. It will print 1, which is what? It means that these two conditions must be true for you to get 1 as the output. This must be true and this must be true before you get 1 as the output. So if 1 is false, you are going to get 0. So when I change this one to false, you are going to get what? 0 as the output. Does it make sense? So indeed we are getting what? Indeed, we are getting 0. We are getting 0, and that's what that means. So with this AND comparison operator, it is saying that the first condition must be true and then the second condition must be true. But when you do something like so, this is going to return true. It will return 1 because one of them is actually true, which is this part here. Does it make sense? Okay, so I've explained what all these ones means, and that is a bit on what the comparison operators. They are very important. You need to understand them. You need to understand them, please. Very, very, very crucial. Okay, now we are going to end here, and then we will continue hopefully tomorrow. But there is a tendency that tomorrow we will not hold a meeting. So if we don't meet tomorrow, Saturday is not possible because Saturday I have something to do. Like I have a very important something to deal with, so I will not be available. So probably we can shift it to Sunday evening, and that will be our last meeting. Are we okay? Yes. So that is that. So when we meet, when we are able to meet, hopefully Sunday, we will be looking at logical operators, and then we continue to look at if conditions, switch statements, and when we start to explore those concepts, that is where you start to really appreciate programming, because those are some of the things coupled with whatever we've talked about already. When you blend them, you are going to do wonders. Yes, we will touch on loops too, so you can be reading ahead, you can be doing your own learning, so that when I even introduce the topic and then the response is okay, the understanding is there, we just move ahead to look at more stuffs or interesting concepts that you have no idea about, or you have less knowledge about. Are you asking if we are going to talk about pointers? Is that what you are asking? Oh, okay. So I don't think we'll get to pointers, and even when it comes to object-oriented programming with C++, I'm not sure we will get there because, like I said, if we are not able to meet tomorrow and we are meeting on Sunday, that will be our last meeting. And when we meet, we only have an hour to operate, and with that, we are only going to look at logical operators. We look at some string methods. We look at some mathematical functions that are built into C++, things like power. So we can have a number raised to the power something, or square root of a number. All those things, they are there. They are functions that are there in C++. We look at them. Then we look at what the if else statement. We look at switch statements. We look at loops, and then I think within that 1 hour space, that is probably where we can end, or where we can get to. So if we are able to get to loops, I'm okay. If we are able to get to loops, we are okay. The rest you can learn them on your own. If you need my assistance, yesterday I said something about that. I'm very busy. This is the time I can dedicate for you guys, and those of you who availed yourself, that is fine. But if you want my engagement afterwards, then you know what to do. I'm not going to say anything to you again. The rest is left to you to explore. But if you still want my engagement, then that is also another thing to talk about. So this language is like QBasic. Well, I wouldn't say much about that, but like I said, if you already have a bit of programming knowledge, you realize that most of the things we are talking about, they are similar to the one that you already know. So we said that programming languages, they do essentially the same thing. They help you write instructions for the computer. But what makes them different is sometimes what they are meant for. So you can use, there's a language solely dedicated for what, let's say, um, writing, let's say, what maybe artificial intelligence. There's a language solely dedicated for maybe web development. There's a language solely dedicated for, let's say, writing computer games. But you realize that all the things you talk about, the concepts, conditions, variables, and they cut across all of them. And the another thing that also differs is what the syntax. So how you would actually print something in C++ is not the same way you are going to do in Python. How you will accept user inputs in Python, that is not the same way you are going to do it in C++. So those are basic differences, and I think we talked about some of these things at the very early stages of our discussions when we started this whole thing. We touched on some of those things. So please, all the videos are recorded and they are placed online. You can check it out, and then you can watch them and get more understanding. Now watch them and then get more understanding. Is that okay? Yeah, so that is that. We are going to end here. Hello, were you able to join? Oh, okay, someone is saying and also subscribe to the channel. Yeah, some of you don't know how to support your own. You just go there. I don't want to say much about that anyway. So let's just call it okay. You can take over when Cell leaves. Why? Okay, Nagbeko. Hello, are you present? Okay, so hello is not here. So we would meet hopefully Sunday. So maybe I would come up with a simple task that will keep you engaged probably tomorrow, and then Saturday. So you do the submission probably on Saturday before we meet on Sunday. So I would take my time and then, based on all the things we've talked about so far, I'll come up with a simple yet a bit challenged task that you can try your hands on. Please don't use AI. Please don't use AI, because the more you do things on your own at these very early stages, and you are able to understand them, it becomes easy for you to learn the advanced concept. But if you go and feed it to AI and then AI gives you the answer, you are not doing yourself good. Please. So that is all I've got to say. We call it a day, and I'll catch you hopefully Sunday. Bye bye. Okay. Thank you. Someone is saying they appreciate my selfless dedication. I'm also grateful. Thank you for the acknowledgement. Thank you. So I'm leaving the discussion. You guys, if you want to, your more money. Thank you. Amen. If you guys want to do a chit chat amongst yourself, you can do that. I am leaving the meeting. Alright? Bye bye.